Can you see the screen that I've shared? Everyone? No. Have I shared a screen?
No, sir.
Okay, let me see. Is it visible to you now? The screen shared?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think we discussed about pituitary, and in pituitary we also discussed about, I'll just use the pen here. And in pituitary we discussed about, I told you the two words adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. Okay, write down one more thing in the pituitary only. This is one thing that was in the question. So I was, how many of you go back and look at previous year questions? So the questions of pre-medical entrances are available. Also, guest papers are available. So how many of you see those papers? Because you should see it from like now onwards, okay? It will tell you how much you understand the concept, how deep you understand the concept. So write down one thing that is asked. What is acromegaly? ACRO, acromegaly, MEGALY. So acromegaly is, it's a disorder of growth hormone. Remember about growth hormone? So just tell me briefly the secretion pathway of growth hormone. Growth hormone is secreted from where? Anterior pituitary, right?
Yes, sir.
And under the effect of what? What controls the secretion of growth hormone? Did I tell you that? From hypothalamus, what secretes the, what controls the secretion of growth hormone? Remember GHRH, growth hormone releasing hormone?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus goes down to the pituitary, tells the pituitary to release growth hormone. Okay. And that growth hormone then goes to each and every part of the body. And as you told, it localizes amino acids to the region where growth is required, because amino acids form long chains of peptides which form proteins, and these proteins form the basic fundamental structure of the body. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, sometimes due to two reasons. One, it can be the problem in the regulation. Now, the problem in regulation can occur both from hypothalamus. Either there is a problem in hypothalamus because of which it is releasing lots of signal hormone to the pituitary to release lots of growth hormones, more than what is required, excess. Do you understand that? And the second thing is, either the problem is in pituitary itself, that the signal from hypothalamus is normal, but then pituitary is producing excess hormones. Now, if I ask you, just apply your logic and think biologically, when do a tissue produces more of anything? Why will posterior produce more? Posterior pituitary, sorry, anterior pituitary produce more of growth hormone? Any reason you can think of? Mariam, Omar, or Aisha? You can also write in the chat. I will read it. What is the reason due to which growth hormone secretion can get in excess? See, if you learn to reason this, giving answers will not be difficult for you. Okay, let me ask it in other way. There was a tissue of size 4 centimeters and it was secreting something. What can happen to that tissue that its secretion can increase if that thing is not genetic, apart from the genetic, just related to the tissue architecture? Can you do anything? Or can anything happen to the tissue?
Sir, due to some disorders?
Yes, right. Again, you started to the right path, but what kind of disorder do you think can happen in the tissue? If it's not genetic,
Not
or like, let's not just
enough
talk about,
regulation.
yes, no. Yes, one thing
Not
can be
enough.
regulation. So, but let's suppose hypothalamus is not enough. You're mute, Mariam.
No, sir, I was saying the same thing.
Yeah, so hypothalamus is normal. Now, just to lead your answer, what will happen if there is a tumor in the pituitary? What does a tumor do? Is tumor a growth? Tumor of anywhere, is it a growth or not? It is, right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is a growth. Tumor is a growth. That's why it's a tumor. More than the number of cells at any place, because cells keep on dividing and form a tumor. So sometimes due to tumor in the pituitary or any other, so tumor in pituitary is where all the hormones secreted by pituitary becomes abnormal without any abnormality in the regulation from hypothalamus. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Hypothalamus is just telling pituitary to secrete normal. But now the pituitary is not normal, it's double the size. So of course, when it will secrete normal, that normal will be double the amount. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So write down acromegaly. It is the excess secretion of growth hormones. It is the excess secretion of growth hormones that leads to that leads to that leads to disfigureness of the body structure, that leads to disfigurement. Now what will happen is pituitary will abruptly start secreting growth hormones in more or less amount, and to whatever tissues it will go, the overall body structure. Have you heard of this term called gigantism? There are giant people.
Yes, sir.
So being giant, like giant, I'm not talking about tall people, but tallness is one gene. It's fine, you can be tall, you know, like there are many tall people, but I'm talking about giantness, where each and every body part is big than it should be as a human required. Do you understand that? Now
Yes,
that
sir.
could be because of excess secretion of growth hormones. But in most cases where this secretion is abrupt, like it it's excess for some time and some tissues uh, absorbed it, then some parts of the body gets disfigured, and most of the times it's about face. The face, because this is the nearest tissue to the brain and to the posterior anterior pituitary. So have you seen people with abnormally large face as compared to their body structure?
Yes, sir.
You will feel that this face is very big for the body structure. So that is called acromegaly, where what have you written? What have you written?
The secretion of growth hormones that leads to disfiguration.
Disfiguration of the body, especially face, of the body, and especially face, the face region, during the middle ages. It mostly happens during the middle ages. Okay, because if it is happening from by birth, then you have really some problem in your brain or your pituitary by birth. That is like some genetic defect is there, right? Or some anatomical defect is there. But if you were born normal and after birth, when you reach your middle ages, around that period, you start showing abnormal growth, bigger limbs, and abnormally large face. That is because of everything is growing normally, but all of a sudden your face started growing abnormally. Is it clear? That is called acromegaly.
Yes, sir. Sir, middle age is like 30,
Yes,
30s.
like 30, 40s, middle ages. Like 60,
Okay, sir.
70, 68, 70 is the average lifespan of a human. So around 30, 40. Okay. Because we are just ruling out that it is not by birth first. And also it's not under the effect of puberty hormones. You understand?
Yes, sir.
It's only excess secretion of growth hormones because of some problem. Now that problem could be tumor if it is not hypothalamus. If there's a tumor in hypothalamus, that could also be a reason. If there is a tumor in pituitary, that could also be a reason. If there is problem in signaling between the two, that could also be a reason. Like you said, Mariam. Okay, is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And acromegaly can be very serious sometimes, leading to, you can just write, it can be very severe sometimes, leading to premature death. Leading to premature death. Okay. Now, there is one more thing that is asked when I was telling you about ADH. Remember ADH? I should
Yes,
go up. What was ADH, Mariam?
antidiuretic hormones.
Diuretic. You always
Diuretic.
diuretic. I'm like, you will like correct it, but you never do that. Where was it? Where was it? Where was it? Where was ADH? ADH, ADH, ADH. Yes, vasopressin, antidiuretic hormone. So it increases the reabsorption of water from renal tubules, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, if there is an impairment, and also I told you, remember that under the effect of alcohol, the ADH secretion is. Did you note it down or not?
Yes, sir.
ADH
More
secretion.
frequent.
No, urine is more frequent, which means ADH secretion is inhibited.
Less.
Yes. So if ADH is secreted, then basically what happens? ADH reabsorbs, like it's here. Do you see here?
Yes, sir.
ADH reabsorbs water, right? But if the ADH secretion is not there, then ADH will not be able to reabsorb water and you will have more and more urine formation and that will lead to frequent urination. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, alcohol inhibits it. That is one external factor. Sometimes, if you impair ADH internally, like through some genetic problem, then what happens is kidney over time, if your ADH is infunctional for a very long period of time, then kidney after some time loses its ability to conserve water. Do you understand why it loses that ability? From DCT, come back to kidneys. Close your eyes and remember the proximal convoluted tubule, the loop of Henle, descending, ascending, then the distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. From the distal convoluted tubule, just before the collecting duct, ADH was secreting lots of water and preserving water, sending it back into the blood, right?
Yes, sir.
This was kidney's way of preserving water in dehydration, right?
Yes, sir.
But if your ADH is faulty and not working for a very long time in your body because of some problem in its release, which is the internal factor, or if someone is a very routine and alcohol drinker for a very long time in high quantities, then ultimately what will happen? Kidneys lose their ability to conserve water. They no longer can conserve water from the DCT. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And in that condition, what will happen? Tell me. If you cannot conserve water and over time you lose this ability to reabsorb water, then whatever amount of water you drink, you will always feel thirsty and dehydrated, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? And that condition is called another diabetes. So do you know there are two types of diabetes? Diabetes mellitus, about which we have discussed, where insulin is important. More sugar in the blood level, the normal sugar disease, like sugar in blood, the normal diabetes is called diabetes mellitus. Write it down, both. Write diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus. This is where insulin secretion is inhibited and now the blood glucose level increases. Another type of diabetes is called diabetes insipidus. That is also asked. Both are related. One is related to pancreas. Okay. About insulin. So pancreas secretes insulin. Okay. The second is related to kidneys. Both are related to improper regulation or secretion of hormones. In one case it was insulin, in other case it was ADH. Remember? Just now. So write down diabetes insipidus. 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 Diabetes insipidus is where there is lots of water loss from the kidneys and the body is in constant dehydrated condition, even if you are drinking water. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So will you be able to differentiate between diabetes mellitus and diabetes insipidus if it comes into the exam?
Yes, sir.
So basically the question was in NEET that which of the following factors is important for diabetes insipidus. So you will just read diabetes. The options will be insulin, ADH, TSH, or something else, and you will choose insulin. But what it is actually, if it is insipidus, it is
ADH.
ADH. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's come to let's move forward. I was teaching you about thyroid. Okay, we were on thyroid and we have completed T3, T4, calcitonin. We completed. Any doubt in calcitonin? No, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, while teaching you about T3 and T4, did I tell you that which is the active form and which is not?
Yes, sir.
T3 is more active and T4 is mostly bound to proteins in the blood. You have written this down, everyone,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Now, how many of you have heard of a disease called goiter? Goitre, goiter.
Yes, sir.
You heard of goiter?
Yes, sir.
So there is a disease. Let me type it. I think there's some issue. I can type it. Oh, nice. Yes. Can you all see what I'm typing?
Yes, sir.
There is a disease called goiter, and goiter is associated with your thyroid gland. Okay, so just write it down. This is the disease of thyroid gland. So basically it happens when your thyroid glands enlarge. So write down, it is the enlargement of your thyroid gland. Enlargement of thyroid gland. I realize that I can type better than I can write. Enlargement of the thyroid gland. Okay. And what's more important is, write down. Remember I told you in thyroid, there is two things, hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism, right? And I've
Yes, sir.
already told you about the two words, hypo and hyper. What does hypo means?
Less.
Low. Hypo,
Low.
low. Remember it with the O. And what does hyper means?
High.
High, because it already says hyper. Okay. Something is at high. So if it's hypothyroidism, what does it mean? Tell me. What does hypothyroidism means?
High enlargement.
Hypothyroidism. What does it simply means? Low thyroid hormone secretion, right?
Yes, sir.
And which are thyroid hormones? I'm telling about a point here which comes in exam.
T3, T4.
Exactly, T3, T4. Now, if T3, T4 secretions are less, which is the condition of hypothyroidism, then what will happen to TSH? Think and tell me about the secretion of TSH. Will it be normal, less, or high?
Less.
No. Think carefully. What do TSH do, Mariam? What does TSH do? Since you are the only one interacting, so I'm asking all the questions. I hope you don't mind asking all the questions to you.
Increases the.
TSH stimulates the secretion of T3 and T4. It's like me coming to your door, knocking your door, and telling you to do something. Right?
Yes, sir.
If you will do it, will I come again and knock the door?
No.
Suppose you were playing loud music and I came and I knocked the door to say that please cool off. If you did not lower down the music, I'll come again, right? But if you do the job, I will not come again, right?
Yes.
So if TSH is coming to thyroid and thyroid is producing T3 and T4 in normal amount, TSH will just stay the same, right? Okay, the work is done.
Yes, sir.
But if T3 and T4 is not being produced in normal amount, is produced low, then TSH will keep coming, right?
Yes.
to tell that why are you not producing T3, T4? I'm telling you to produce T3, T4 every time and you're not doing it. So the levels of TSH will
increase,
but the levels of T3 and T4 will
decrease.
So that happens, write down, in hypothyroidism. Write down. In hypothyroidism, is abnormally low. In hypothyroidism, the T3 and T4 or the thyroid hormones or thyroxines. The name for T4 is also thyroxine, as I've written here. So you can write the thyroid hormones are abnormally low, and that condition is called hypothyroidism. Okay, hypothyroidism. T3 and T4 normally low. And in this condition, what happens is when you do not have T3 and T4, your thyroid glands swell up. Okay, because the basal metabolic activity is hindered. Remember, I told you T3, T4 are very important for BMR, basal metabolic rate.
Yes, sir.
And I also explained calorigenic effect, where I told you that if you have more, the basal metabolic rate is more, then you are breaking down things more, you are producing more energy after eating, and then your body temperature rises. And that rise in temperature is not called fever, it's called calorigenic effect. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So here write down the thyroid gland enlarges. Thyroid gland enlarges, and when it will enlarge, your neck region will look bulged out. Okay, the neck region is bulged out, and that is called goiter. Okay.
Yes.
So goiter is basically telling you that you have hypothyroidism in the body. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And what is required to make thyroid hormones? It's written in what is the most important thing in T3 and T4. Which chemical or which element?
Iodine.
Iodine. Perfect. And why does T3 and T4 will be abnormally low? One reason could be that your diet has no iodine, or you are deficient in iodine. So if you don't have the raw materials to make the hormone, you will not be able to make the hormone, howsoever your TSH comes and tells you to do so, right?
Yes, sir.
So TSH is coming from the brain telling the thyroid to make T3, T4, but thyroid does not have the raw material, which is iodine. And what is the, where do we get iodine from in our body? What is the source of iodine? What is the source of proteins?
Chickens, fish.
Yes, flesh, fish, pulses. What is the source of carbohydrate? Potato. Rice,
Potato.
wheat. What is the source of minerals and nutrients, like minerals and antioxidants? Fruits, right?
Yes,
What is
sir.
the source of iodine? None of you or me has goiter, which means our thyroid gland is normal, which means the iodine levels are normal in our body. So what are we eating in our diet that is maintaining our iodine levels? Have you ever thought of it?
Fish.
Fish. Okay. So our diet does not have anything in good quantity which can provide for iodine. Iodine is normal. That's why many people in India and developing nations started suffering from goiter. This is where scientists thought that one way to put iodine inside your body is through salt. How many of you have read the packet of salt that comes in your house? It's always written iodized salt, right?
Yes, sir.
So have ever thought of what is it? Biology and chemistry is all around us. What is happening with iodized salt? What do you mean by iodized? It means that iodine as an element is present with your salt, NaCl. So when you're taking a pinch of salt, you just need a very less amount of iodine also to make this hormone, and that is fulfilled by the salt. Okay. Otherwise, other natural things in your diet do not have enough iodine, which is required. So you should eat iodized salt, at least a pinch or two in a day. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So write down goiter. In goiter, it is the enlargement or bulging out of thyroid gland or the neck region due to hypothyroidism caused due to iodine deficiency. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So if you have iodine deficiency, you will have goiter because you will not be able to make T3, T4 properly. Next, write down hyperthyroidism. What happens in hyperthyroidism? Hyper means high. So can you explain with the same logic, Mariam, what you think must be happening in hyperthyroidism?
Too much production of T3, T4.
Now, how can we do that? Two less, I told you. It was easy, you know. I chose the easy one for me because it was easy. You tell me, how can you do? How can a condition like hyperthyroidism arise in our body? I just gave you a hint above with pituitary. Mariam, you're a biologist. Come on. When any organ, if a question comes, when do an organ start secreting something in excess quantity? One constant answer could be under its own enlargement. Okay. Is it clear, Mariam?
Yes, sir.
And when do organs enlarge? When there is tumor. And when will tumor happen in thyroid gland? When there is a thyroid cancer, or when you have too much of TSH, sorry, too less of TSH in response, not like to not regulate anything. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So if your T3, T4 levels are abnormally high, your TSH level will be low because the pituitary will not ask you to do it because you are overdoing it. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So write down. Oh, okay. About hypothyroidism, just above, also add one more point. If a pregnant woman have hypothyroidism, this was the question. What can happen? What do you think?
Stillbirth.
What?
Stillbirth of the child.
So you are just killing the child. So but that is just like the very extreme, right? Baby is so deformed that it's dead. But thyroidism, if you do not have thyroid, or people who have hypothyroidism or goiter or hyperthyroidism, they don't die. So why will the kid die? What else can happen? What does thyroid do? Regulates BMR, right? And BMR provides for energy for the body, right?
Yes, sir.
And if mother has hypothyroidism, then her body will not be producing enough supplies for the baby also. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Make sense or no?
Yes, sir.
So it causes defective development of the baby. Is it right?
Yes, sir.
Or it can also call to something called stunted growth. The baby is shorter, like it's normal delivery after 9 months. Baby can be shorter or smaller in two reasons. One, it is premature delivery. Premature delivery is different from stunted growth. In premature delivery, the baby is not yet developed properly inside and has been delivered outside. So you need to keep the baby in an incubating chamber and have to monitor the baby's growth, right? So
yes, sir.
babies also grown in 6, 7, or 8 months can also survive, and they also grow up to become normal individuals. It's just that during that 1 or 2 months we have to give them extra care and nutrition. Is it clear? That is not
Yes, sir.
stunted growth. But but stunted growth is where the baby's development was compromised. Is it clear? So write down in hypothyroidism, if hypothyroidism happens during pregnancy, or if a pregnant lady has hypothyroidism, causes defective development of the baby, causes defective development of the baby, comma, stunted growth, stunted. So defective development of baby, stunted growth. There is another term for stunted growth. Sorry. Cretinism. Yes, it's called cretinism. This is the word used in entrance. Cretinism means, what is cretinism? It was asked that which of these glands is responsible for cretinism, was the question. So which gland is responsible for cretinism? Tell me.
Thyroid.
Yes, thyroid. And if it comes to which hormone is responsible for cretinism?
T3, T4.
T3, T4. If T3, T4 is not in the option, then will you?
TSH.
Yes. If TSH is there and T3, T4 is not in the option, you can choose TSH. And if TSH is also not then there, then choose none of the above. You will not go to hypothalamus. Remember, for thyroid, when it comes from hypothalamus, it's a common hormone, and the hormone for prolactin also inhibits TSH, right?
Yes, sir.
So there is no direct inhibition. So either it's T3, T4 or TSH. That's all. But T3, T4 is the most correct answer. Sometimes in entrance, you do not have to choose the actual correct answer, because that is not in the option. Sometimes you have to choose the most or the closest correct answer. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
But only when none of the above is not an option, because sometimes none of the above is the most closest answer. So you have to make, and for that, howsoever amount of learning you do, you will not be able to differentiate unless and until you understand the concepts. Then only you will be able to understand whether I have to choose none of the above, if that is in the option, or TSH. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So, and write down. Normally, prolonged periods of hypothyroidism where the T3 and T4 was abnormally low, with either for the kid or for an adult person, like if it's for years, if it is happening, then most of the time mental retardation happens. Like the the memory, learning, and the mental growth is hampered. So write down in hypothyroidism. In hypothyroidism, mental retardation retardation, low IQ, and in 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 females, menstrual irregularity can happen. In females, menstrual irregularity. Now, what does thyroid hormone has to do with menstruation? Mariam, think I've thought of it. It's true that for people or females with very prolonged hypothyroidism, which is not treated, if it remains untreated, if you're not, so if you have hypothyroidism, what is the treatment? There is only one treatment, because you cannot do something with pituitary. So you give thyroid or thyroxine from outside, right? Same as we do for diabetes, right? If someone has diabetes, what do? That hormone or that insulin is not there in the body, is not functioning. So we provide insulin from outside in injections. So if someone is not producing T3 and T4, we will provide them thyroxine from outside as tablets. Okay. So that is the only treatment. And it's true that in females who does not have this, have defective menstrual cycle. Now, what do you think thyroid has to do with menstrual cycle? Tell me. The answer is in front of you, written very big in the screen. BMR.
BMR?
Yes, the basal metabolic rate produces energy to do lots of things in the body. And I told you that menstrual cycle is very, very energy consuming process. Remember,
Yes,
lots
sir.
of blood is lost every month in this cycle from the female's body, that again has to be compensated for within that 1 month, so that next month it can again be lost. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So the uterus prepares itself to be broken down the next month again, if pregnancy does not happen. If pregnancy happens, then that uterus stays like that and keeps on thickening and thickening, because it has to provide nutrition and implantation for the baby. But if implantation does not happens and pregnancy does not happens, then every month it will build itself, then break down, and lots of blood and along with nerve cells, blood vessels will come out. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So don't you think it's very energy stressful? And if someone's BMR is already low, not providing enough or not making enough energy in the body, will the menstrual cycle normal? No, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just relate it in the mind. And another question was this, that defective menstrual cycle can happen due to, and none of the gonadotropins were in the option, and there was T3 and T4 in the option. So you will choose T3, T4. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Because directly saying the gonadotropins are responsible for menstrual flow, right? But if that they are not there, you have to choose the most closest correct answer. Then the other correct answer is T3, T4. So under hypothyroidism also, your menstrual cycle is defective. Note it down.
Yes, sir.
Now come to hyperthyroidism and write down quickly. The reason could be due to nodules in thyroid. So sometimes nodules are very small outgrowths. They are not cancerous. They are like benign, small tumors. So tumors are of two types, benign and malignant. Have you heard of the term malignancy? Malignancy.
Yes, sir.
What is malignancy?
Sir, I don't remember.
Where have you heard it? I'm writing it here. Malignancy.
One of my friend was telling that there's two types of cancer, and then she said this word and the other word.
Yes. Malignancy is the ability of a tumor to metastasize or to move from one body part to other, or even in the same organ to different parts. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
If you have tumor somewhere, let's say I have a tumor on the epidermis and there is a bulge out of the tissue. It is a local thing, right? If I get it removed, I should get rid of the tumor, right? Normally it happens. Have you seen people with these black small tumors? I don't know what it is called, on the face, on other body parts.
Yes, sir.
You understand what I'm talking about? That is also a tumor, right? Small, very small tumor with lots and lots of melanin in it, because of which it becomes black. So malignancy is the ability of a tumor to move in the body. So you remove it from one part, it crops up in another part in the same organ, or also sometimes through blood it can go to different organs. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
ability of a cancerous tumor, and in that case it's called cancerous. Cancer is nothing but a tumor which is so stubborn that you cannot get rid of it. Simply, in simple layman language, a cancer is a tumor which is not going to lose you, but not going to leave you. Okay, you know, cancer is also a sunshine, and it's called, it's the symbol is a crab with two pincers, right? And how I remember it, because cancer, if it catches you from one pincer and you try to get rid of it, it will catch you through the other. Then from, you understand, it's very difficult to get rid of
Yes, sir.
cancer. So ability of a cancerous tumor to metastasize or to move. Metastasize. Okay. From one location to other. That is called malignancy. So write down, due to nodules. Nodules are, and the second thing was benign tumor. Benign is a normal tumor which can happen and you get rid of it, you cut it out and it's done. So sometimes due to benign tumors in the thyroid gland, which are also called nodules, small tumors, or thyroid cancer, or misregulation of secretion. Okay, these are the reasons, or misregulation of the secretion. The thyroid hormones are secreted. The thyroid hormones are secreted in abruptly high levels. So the secretion, I'm writing the secretion of thyroid hormones in abruptly high amounts, high levels. And when you go for a test for this, you will see that your T4 and TSH levels are very, very high. And on the contrary, your TSH level is very low. Okay. So that is called hyperthyroidism. And write down, the disease which is, so in case of hyperthyroidism, the disease is called, it's again called goiter, but it's called, just writing it here, exophthalmic goiter. You can check for the spelling. Can you all see it, what I'm typing?
Yes, sir.
Exophthalmic goiter. So goiter, again, like diabetes, and these two are confusing diseases and have been asked. That's why I thought of discussing this with you. So remember, goiter can be of two types: normal goiter and exophthalmic goiter. Exophthalmic goiter is in hyperthyroidism, and normal goiter is in hypothyroidism. In goiter, enlargement happens, but in exophthalmic goiter, enlargement is not necessary. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And T3, T4 levels are very, very high. Okay. But also in exophthalmic goiter, enlargement of thyroid gland may or may not happen. Most of the time it does happens. But apart from that, what happens in, you can tell it from the eyes. So write down the symptoms of exophthalmic goiter. Symptoms. Write down symptoms, because you have to distinguish between these. First symptom is enlarged thyroid gland. In bracket, write down may or may not all the time. Enlarged thyroid gland other thing is, you will see that the eyeballs, protrusion of eyeballs. Yes, this is the word. Protrusion of eyeballs. You will see that the eyeballs, they seem like coming out of the socket. Sometimes you will see that people have eyes which are coming out of their socket. Have you seen
Yes, sir.
any such case or example or case history or photo? So there you can tell that this is a goiter, but not because of hypothyroidism and because of hyperthyroidism. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And also, as I told you, just logically speaking, if thyroid hormones are very high in the body, what will happen to BMR? What will happen to BMR? Tell me.
Will increase.
Exactly, it will be also very high. And when BMR is very high, what will happen to the body? Body will produce and lose lots and lots of energy in terms of heat, right?
Yes, sir.
So you will always feel hot, right? Like feverish.
Yes, sir.
And the body will need more energy to sustain than a normal person needs. You will feel hungry also. So another symptoms which are just logical by this is that you have high BMR. You can just write down high BMR. I think I should move this thing down a little. That will work. Is it clear, everyone now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. High BMR, due to which lots of loss of weight happens all the time. So the person keeps becoming thin and thin, even if the person is eating a lot. Now, can you understand why is it happening? Because you understand the biology behind it.
Yes, sir.
Because the body needs more food, and whatever amount of food you give them, the BMR is so high, it will break down all the food and convert it into energy. And you will, if you are not active, then you will lose the energy through heat dissipation, calorigenic effect. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So that's why, and it's also known as, this is again the question, it's also known as Graves disease. Okay, Graves disease is exophthalmic goiter is called Graves disease. So sometimes doctors, just to differentiate between the two diseases, do not use the word exophthalmic goiter, because if they will say goiter, you will think hypothyroidism. So they always say Graves disease. So you are suffering from Graves disease, which is not very common, but it happens. Goiter is more common because iodine deficiency is very easy to happen in the body. Okay, everything has a reason.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So this was few things I wanted to tell you. Now I'll just tell you briefly that apart from thyroid glands, we also have parathyroid glands. You know, these are smaller than thyroid glands and are two pairs, 4 in number. So just write briefly about these parathyroid glands. What happens in parathyroid glands? It is actually, if you see the location of does anybody has NCRT? I think thyroid and parathyroid gland is very properly shown in NCRT, the diagram. Anyone has NCRT?
Yes, sir.
Can you please open the thyroid gland region? You will
Yes, sir.
realize, is it there, the thyroid gland diagram?
Yes, sir.
And also, are they showing 4 additional glands on the top of thyroid gland itself? So parathyroid glands, in one go, if you look, you will not be able to distinguish it from thyroid gland. It is present on the thyroid gland itself. 4. There are 2 in each side. Have they shown it or not?
Yes, sir.
It's there, right?
Yes, sir.
So this parathyroid gland, these are very small glands, and just write down what do they do. There are 4 parathyroid glands, which means 2 pair. and they are not present on the front side, they are present on the back side. So from the front you will see the thyroid, and if you'll go towards the back you will see 4 additional smaller glands on the top of it. But if they're not anatomically distinguishable, then how do we distinguish it? Of course, chemically, if they secrete something which thyroid does not secrete, right?
Yes.
Then they are different glands. It's very simple. Just like adrenal gland sits on the top of the kidney, right? So if you just look at it, you will feel that, okay, this is also a part of kidney. But we know that it secretes adrenocorticotropic hormones, which kidney does not secrete, right? So
Yes,
it's different. Yes. So write down parathyroid glands. So they are 4 in number, or 2 pair, whatever you can remember, write it. Present in the back of thyroid gland, back part, back of thyroid gland, and they secrete a hormone called PTH, parathyroid hormone. Secretes PTH. Parathyroid hormone. Okay. Hormone. Now write down the function. PTH. Okay. One important thing. Now, why is PTH secreted is important. What did I tell you about calcitonin? Calcitonin is also secreted by thyroid gland, right?
Yes.
What does it do? It regulates the blood calcium levels, right?
Yes, sir.
Calcitonin sometimes is also known as, in some books, it's also referred to as thyrocalcitonin, and it's called TCT. So just write here in front of calcitonin that it's sometimes called TCT, which means thyrocalcitonin, TCT, thyrocalcitonin. Okay. Now, what happens when the amount of calcium in the blood increases? So write down, PTH is secreted. PTH is secreted PTH is secreted in PTH secreted due to PTH is secreted due to the regulating effect secreted PTH is secreted due to the regulating effect of the circulating levels of calcium ions in the blood. Of the circulating levels of calcium ions. Now, calcium ions in chemistry you must have studied. They're called Ca2+, right? So this is the calcium ion. It has a dual valency. Calcium also acts as a activator for a lot of enzymes, calcium and magnesium and iron. Iron, you also know, it's also present in hemoglobin, right?
Yes, sir.
So the circulating levels of calcium ions, which means if the circulating levels are high, okay, then thyrocalcitonin will also secrete and will try to bring it back. Okay. But if it's still not in control, and if it's low or if it's abrupt, then parathyroid glands also secretes a parathyroid hormone under the effect of these circulating levels of calcium ions. And write down it increases, PTH increases the calcium levels in blood. Just the opposite of calcitonin. Is it clear? Is it clear, everyone? Calcium
Yes, sir.
dissipates from bone, comes into the blood, and as I told you, it is an important factor for activation for a lot of enzymes. And for its activation, this is required as a factor. So it needs to be there in the blood, but in a certain amount. If it goes beyond the amount, bones are being compromised. It's coming out of bones. So it has to be sent back to bones, and that is done by calcitonin. If it's very low, then some calcium has to brought back to the blood. Okay, to also keep the functioning of other its activatory functions. Okay, is it clear? And that is
Yes,
done
sir.
by PTH, right? So you can write down PTH is opposite of calcitonin in functioning and effect. Just make a star mark there. Parathyroid hormone was discovered later, and it was discovered because people started seeing, the research reason was that they thought that calcitonin do both. In the beginning, it was thought that calcitonin also increases and decreases the blood calcium levels when required. But then it was very difficult to understand how it is able to accomplish both the functions. Either it is killing it or either it is allowing it, how it is doing both. It's not like it cannot do both. There are certain enzymes or there are certain um, substances, even hormones in animal kingdom, which can do both through a feedback effect. Remember I told you, they get secreted, then they work on something, and the tissue they work on secretes something that gives a feedback signal for its more secretion. You understand? It's called a
Yes,
positive
sir.
feedback loop. But here it was not happening. So they realized that something is coming from thyroid region only, which is regulating it, but it is not calcitonin. Then they figured out that in the thyroid gland, on the top of it, on the back side, there are small tissues which are secreting something different from calcitonin, which was this PTH, that increases the levels if it goes down. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
That's why they gave a name to PTH. PTH is also known as, and this is your entrance question. For this, I told you the whole story. It's called hypercalcemic hormone. Can you understand it by the terminology, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Hypercalcemic, which means it allows the calcium levels to increase in the blood. So it's called hypercalcemic hormone. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So along with TCT, which is your thyrocalcitonin, it helps in regulating the blood calcium level. So that's the whole story of calcium regulation in the blood. A very hot topic, which is also asked in boards. So there was a 5-marker question when I gave the boards. They write a paragraph in the hormones associated for the calcium regulation in the blood. So do you know now the whole story? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Now let's talk about the hormones from gonads before going. We have pineal, thyroid. Then we have anything in between. Oh, we have thymus also. Write down thymus before we go to gonads. Or let's finish gonads first because I have already things yesterday. So let's come to the hormones of gonads. Now, what are gonads?
Sperm and ovary together are known as gonads.
Am I audible, Mariam? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry. I just lost the signal. What happened? Aisha and Rehab also lost the signal, or they left, thinking the class is over.
They left, sir.
Or they thought the class is over or what? Uh, sorry, I
Sir,
lost the
Aisha left the
signal.
class before.
Oh, she's still having issues with the
She's
internet.
back in Saudi.
She's back in Saudi. She
Yes,
doesn't want to
she's
study.
back.
Okay. So I was saying, what are gonads? And no one was answering. And then I realized
and-
uh, I realized that you're not answering because the connection is lost. Okay, so what are gonads?
Sperm and ovary are together known as gonads.
Yes. Testes, not sperm.
Testes.
Yes, sperms are the gametes. Gonads produced gametes. Okay, just remember that. Now, first is your testosterone. Testosterone, as I have already told you, when I was telling you about the male reproductive organ, which we left in between, but I told you that there is something called seminiferous tubules in which sperms are produced, right?
Yes, sir.
Keep revising these things with me, otherwise you will never be able to memorize it. The facts are too much. But apart from seminiferous tubules, there are also some cells, interstitial cells, which are called Leydig cells, right? And they produce hormones, which is majorly your testosterone, the male hormones. So write down in front of testosterone, the male hormones, and that affects the normal development and functions of secondary sexual organs and characters, about which we have discussed in detail, right?
Yes, sir.
And this testosterone also stimulates the formation of sperms. So this testosterone, which is secreted from testes, act on testes and tell them to produce uh, uh, more sperms. So what kind of feedback is this? Positive or negative?
Positive.
Yes. So testosterone increases and then more sperm production increases, because of which more testosterone increases and more sperm production increases. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. But write down, they have also, so this I want to discuss, hyposecretion. So whenever these words will come, hyposecretion or hypersecretion, you will understand what does it mean.
Yes, sir.
Hypo means
Low.
hyper means high. So hyposecretion, it's very easy to understand what will happen, poor development of sexual characters. And if male sexual characters are not developed properly, then what will happen? The male body will lose all the maleness, coarse voice or musculature, okay, and it will have more feminist characters, no beard or mustache. Do you understand? So that's called
Yes,
more
sir.
feminist characters. Perfect.
Sir,
Second,
your voice is getting stuck.
hello, is it fine now? Is it fine now, Mariam?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think I'm suffering some bandwidth issue. If it happens again, please notify me. I'll just like shut my video for some time and we'll speak so that you can understand. Okay. It's
Yes,
fine. Currently it's fine, right? It's stable.
No, sir.
No, it's not stable. Okay. Is it stable now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So second hormone is estrogen. Let us like wait for some time for the network to be stable. So estrogen, like testosterone is secreted from Leydig cells. Estrogen is secreted from Graafian follicles. Just write the name. As I promised, when I'll come back to female reproductive cycle, I will tell you about why they are called follicles and what is Graafian follicles. But estrogen is secreted from the ovaries, and in the ovaries there is a region called Graafian follicles. Just like in the testes, there is a region called Leydig cells. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
and it affects the development and maintenance of secondary sexual characters in female, and also stimulates maturation of ovum. Ova, ovum, oocyte, all are the name of female gamete. Okay. So this is also a positive feedback loop, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And the hyposecretion will do what? Failure of development of secondary sexual characters in women. But that doesn't mean then the woman will become more male-like. Do you understand the difference between the two?
Yes, sir.
See, logically, if you do not have male characters, so what are female characters? No beard, no mustache, right? Normally, you don't.
Yes, sir.
Okay, females need not to have beard or mustache, and the build is also not very masculine, right? The voice is not coarse. So all these characters, if not present, then will look like female. Like if you do not have beard and mustache, even after puberty, and you still have a shrill voice and do not have a well-built musculature, then those characters are called feminist characters biologically, right? But if you do not have feminist characters, those are not known as male characters. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The third hormone, so testosterone and estrogen are the primary. Write down, they are the primary gonadotropins. Okay. Then comes progesterone. Progesterone is secreted by ovary, and this term which is written corpus luteum, just write it. All these terms, Graafian follicles, corpus luteum, I will come back when I will be talking about female reproductive organs. But write down progesterone. Now, progesterone is actually it stimulates the uterus for pregnancy. Okay, and it's called it's called the pregnancy hormone. Like it is the hormone which is responsible to hold the uterus the way it is. So remember I told you in menstrual cycle, every month the uterus prepares itself, become thickened, starts growing blood vessels. Is it clear? Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Starts growing blood vessels, starts thickening up, and if pregnancy does not happen, then starts falling out with blood flow. Now that happens because sperm and ovum do not fertilize and implantation does not happen. Till that time, progesterone keeps the uterus ready and intact. But if that does not happen, the progesterone levels fall down, and with its fall, the uterus also falls. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So that's why progesterone is responsible for maintaining the uterus. So write down, it stimulates the uterus for pregnancy, implantation, and formation of placenta. What is placenta? I think you all know placenta.
Connection between the embryo and the.
Placenta is, you can say that. Then what is umbilical cord?
Placenta is a disc-like structure which helps in nutrition.
Yes. Yes. Umbilical cord is that connection, the tube, right? It comes from placenta to the body of the fetus. And placenta is that disc-like structure which keeps the mother's blood away from the baby's blood. Do you know that a mother's blood never mixes with the baby's blood?
Yes, sir.
And why is that? What can you think of any reason, Mariam? I have told you about blood grouping, right? When I was telling
Yes,
you
sir.
cardiovascular things, but I did not share with you one thing, which is called erythroblastosis fetalis. This is a very important question, but I kept it for this part here because it is directly related to your placenta. So placenta never allows the mother's blood to get mixed with the baby's blood. So what happens? Blood from both the side comes to the placenta. There is a permeable membrane which only allows nutrient to go from one side to other, but not the RBCs or WBCs. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So it's just like blood from mother came till this point, gave all the nutrient to the baby's blood, and then baby's blood took it into the baby's body. But bloods will never mix. Can you think of why blood should never mix? And the reason lies in blood group. Is it always necessary that whatever is the blood group of mother, the baby's blood group will always be the same?
No.
No, right? It's not necessary, because I told you baby's blood group depends on the gene it is getting from the father and the mother, right?
Yes, sir.
I told you if the mother gives A and the baby and the father gives B, then the blood group will be AB, right? If the mother gives A and the father gives nothing, which is O, so A and O becomes blood group O. Oh, sorry, blood group A, because O is recessive. Remember all these things?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Don't like turning off the video. Is the network stable now? Can you hear
No,
me?
sir.
Ah, shit. Okay. Is it stable now? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So let's do it this way. I hate it, but fine. So remember about the blood grouping or not? I told you
Yes, sir.
that blood groups are decided from genes coming from each parent. And if each parent gave A or B, they are co-dominant and they exist together. But if any parent give O, that is recessive, and the other parent's gene will activate. So O with anything means nothing. So O is nothing. Remember antigen, antibody, RH factor concept?
Yes, sir.
Please revise. So what will happen if the mother, now this is a question for you, Mariam. If the mother has a blood group which is anything, let's say A negative. Okay, cool. So if mother's blood group was A negative, I should write as A negative. Is it clear? Are you following the question?
Yes, sir.
So what could be the possible chances for a mother? Either it is having this as a genotype, right? IA, or she is
Yes, sir.
having this as a genotype, IAIO. These are the two possibilities, right?
Yes, sir.
Any other possibilities for the mother to have a blood group A negative? No. These are the two possibilities. And let's say if the baby somehow, like father also must be having some blood group, and the baby got a blood group which is called, let's say father had B blood group, okay? B positive, let's say. Cool.
Yes, sir.
Let's first write about the father, then I'll ask the question. This is how exactly question comes in entrance. So let's say father have a blood group B positive. Okay. Now what are the for the possible genotypes?
IB or I.
Either it will
BO.
be IB or IB
IO.
IO. Perfect. So you understood it. No other possibility. But it's B positive. And in terms of RH, also let's write RH factor. In terms of RH factor will be absent, right? There'll be no RH. That's why it's negative, right? Mother is, that's why negative. Clear?
Yes, sir.
For father, RH factor is present. Is it clear?
Yes,
Now, my
sir.
question to you is, let's say my first question is this possible? Is it possible for the baby to have a blood group which is B positive? Just look at both, and this is the biological kid, not adopted, just to tell you. So look at both the mother and father combination and tell me, is B positive possible for a baby or not? Mariam,
No.
think again.
Yes, sir.
How is it possible?
IB and
What? Think, just look at the question, think about it, and give me the answer. I'm here. Someone is answering in the chat. Kya? Omar is saying yes, it's possible. Omar, would you like to write the genotype of the baby for B positive? That is possible, because that will tell me whether you have understood the inheritance or not. So it will inherit something from their parents. The parents' genotype is mentioned. Just tell me what will be the baby's genotype if B positive is a possible blood group for the baby.
sir, IB or I? AB,
Sorry?
I mean BO.
Can IB be possible for the baby? This is where your test lies. So I'm taking a live test.
IBIO.
IBIO.
IO.
Perfect. Right. Omar didn't give any answer. Okay, fine. So the only possible outcome for the baby to have a B positive blood is IBIO. So IB from the father, right?
Yes, sir.
Which was dominant, and IO from the mother, which was recessive.
Recessive.
Is it clear? Now there are
Yes,
two.
sir.
As I told you that the the bloods never mix between the mother and the baby, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
But sometimes what happens, it's more problematic during the second pregnancy, for that matter, because so first write down about just define erythroblastosis fetalis. Now, okay, before defining, let me ask you this question. Baby has a B positive blood residing inside a mother who has a negative blood. What do you think can go wrong? Can anything go wrong?
If the blood mixes
Yes,
or the
then what will happen?
nutrition,
Then what will happen?
the
The
blood will react to the foreign particle.
what is the foreign particle here? You can simply say that the mother's and the baby's blood is not compatible, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
upon mixing, it can cause problem. If it get mixed before delivery, then it will cause problem to the baby, and baby can actually also die because of it. Or if does not die, then it will have a hemolytic anemia in the fetus, because a lot of antibodies from the mother will kill the baby's antigens. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
But in this case, because baby is positive and mother is negative, so mother will not have antigens for Rh, but baby will have. So what is also possible, if mother was positive and baby was negative and somehow the blood got mixed because of a tissue damage or something, or antigens passed on, then the problem is that baby will have, write down to both the conditions. First, write down in erythroblastosis fetalis, if the maternal antibodies are transmitted to the baby's RBCs or the fetal RBCs. Fetus, you know fetus? Zygote, embryo, fetus, and infant.
Yes,
Yes. So if the mother's antibodies for Rh antigen, mention the Rh antigen. Because I told you that A and B are codominant, right? So they are not going to do that much problem. Even if one gets exposed to the other, they will stay together. Is it clear? But the antigens sorry, the antibodies are not. Antibodies will kill against whom they are developed. So if mother antibodies mixes with the fetal RBCs, then it can cause, am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, then it can cause hemolytic anemia in the fetus. Hemolytic anemia. HEMOLYTIC. 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 Now, what does the word hemolytic telling you? Terminology. Come on. As my students, you must be telling about terminologies. Hemolytic. Lysis means? Lysis. Lysis means what? Glycolysis. Breakdown of glucose is called glycolysis, which happens in respiration. Remember I told you? Am I
Yes,
not
sir.
audible? Oh, okay. I thought for a second I'm not audible. I'm again lost connection. So lysis means breakdown. And what is that we are breaking down here? The
Hemoglobin,
blood.
the blood.
Heme is for blood, like the
Yes, sir.
antigens of the blood. So RBCs will start dying because of this reaction. And when RBCs will die, what will happen? Anemia. Right? So the baby will be born with the anemia if it survives, and that is called a hemolytic anemia because of mother's antibody reacted with fetal antigen. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
The opposite can also happen, that during birth, let's say, somehow the blood got mixed, like the placenta broke up or something happened. Then what can happen? It can also cause the same kind of problem to the mother, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So erythroblastosis fetalis is also known as Rh disease. Okay, also known as Rh disease of the newborns. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Sometimes newborns can also get killed because of it. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So that's why I chose it here. So placenta plays a role there. And let's come back to progesterone to complete this. And what will hyposecretion of progesterone will do? Now, progesterone all of a sudden cannot start secreting after the pregnancy is there. To maintain pregnancy for the rest of 9 months, you need progesterone. So progesterone levels are high for throughout the pregnancy, because if at any point during the pregnancy progesterone levels falls, then the uterus will also degrade and fall. And what will happen? Abortion will happen. The baby will get killed and come out prematurely. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So what do you think is present in anti-pregnancy pills when we do
High
not
secretion
want?
of progesterone.
So what those pills constitute? Contraceptive pills that do not allow pregnancy to happen. What it must be having? What it must be having? Do we want progesterone to stay or not stay?
Not stay.
Exactly. So they are anything which lets the progesterone level fall. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Within like 72 hours. That's why they work, and they do not allow the pregnancy to stay, even if the fertilization is happening. That's why it's said you have to, like, anyone who wants to
Sir,
avoid.
your voice is breaking.
Okay, just one. Is it fine now? Is it fine now?
No, sir.
Okay. Hello. Voice check.
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, cool. Come to the next hormone. Okay, relaxin is basically a relaxing thing which works with oxytocin, and it relaxes the ligaments of pelvic girdles at the birth. Okay, secreted not from the ovaries or the testes. So we are just talking about hormones from gonads which are secreted from the testes, ovaries. Okay, it's secreted from something called corpus luteum, which again you have also read here, right? What is this corpus luteum? I will tell you later. But still, is inside the ovary. So relaxin becomes a hormone which is secreted inside the ovary. Sorry. Hello.
Sir, your voice is not clear.
Just wait one minute. Is it better now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Omar, is it better now? Just write yes or no. Okay, thank you. So I was saying that relaxin is produced from corpus luteum. Corpus luteum is a structure which is inside the ovary but not a part of ovary. Just remember that. So that's why it's not a hardcore gonad hormone. Still, we study it here, and it just helps in the birth along with oxytocin. Okay, so this will not be asked much, so you can just skip it, but just remember it. Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the last one is HCG. This is important. This is called human chorionic gonadotropin. Again, not from the testes or ovary, but from the placenta. Write it down. It is secreted from placenta. Now, if my question is, can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Now, my question is, placenta is secreting something. This already means that pregnancy is there, right? Right or wrong?
Sir, could you repeat? Your voice was breaking.
My question is, if placenta is secreting something, in this case, it is HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, the hormone which is not secreted by testes or ovaries, but by placenta. So it means that the pregnancy is already there, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if the pregnancy is already happened and it is there, then what does placenta need to do? Just to maintain the pregnancy, right? Keep it okay, normal, everything at the good level, right?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And to maintain pregnancy, what do we need? Progesterone. Again, clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, progesterone is secreted from ovary and corpus luteum, both. So HCG prevents the disintegration of corpus luteum and maintains progesterone production so that pregnancy is maintained, because now placenta is there, placenta is being made. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So my question is, if you have to test the pregnancy, which level you will look for, which will tell you that 100% it's a pregnancy proof?
Sir, could you
HCG.
repeat?
Yes. My voice is still not.
Yes,
Is my
sir.
voice still breaking? Why is it breaking now? It's like my network is fine. Is it fine now?
It's okay. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
sir.
okay now.
Okay. Was someone imitating me?
No, sir. I was just saying it's okay now.
Oh, okay. My question was, which of the following hormones is a sure shot proof of pregnancy? If I ask you to go test pregnancy test in a female, what will you look for? That will 100% tell you that it's not some disorder of hormones, it's 100% pregnancy. That is HCG, remember? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because if HCG levels are high, which means the only place HCG must be coming from is from placenta.
Placenta.
And the placenta, if placenta is there, which means 100% there is pregnancy. But for other hormones, you cannot say with any surety that it is pregnancy. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So for all the pregnancy tests, and even in your pregnancy test kits, what do they look for? They look for human chorionic gonadotropin hormone levels. Is it clear? So write down, it's pregnancy test hormone. Does it make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Clear? So by this logic, you'll be able to give answers. Okay. Should I start thymus? How much time do we have? Just 4 minutes, right? 6 more minutes. Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so should I start thymus or not? Yes, I'm not starting thymus today because I need some time to explain it, but I'm giving you some assignments. So write down, and if you know, you can also tell me right now. How many of you know about something called immunity?
Sir, I do.
What is immunity?
It powers our organ system, right? It boosts our energy basically, right?
No, it has nothing to do with energy.
Then
For energy, we have
It's a
AMR
it's a
and
good defendant
respiration.
against foreign bodies. You don't get sick easily.
It's our defense ministry, in
Yes,
short.
sir.
So it prevents you from sickness and pathogens. Now, what do you know about types of immunity? Anyone know about types of immunity? No. Okay. So there are two types of immunity: active immunity and passive immunity. Okay. So you also have to read these two words and try to find out what is acquired immunity and innate immunity, acquired versus innate immunity. So I'm just giving you some terms to go and check on your own behalf and try to understand it. In the next class, when I will start thymus and adrenal, and before what else is left to finish it, pancreas, thymus, adrenal, pancreas. We have done. And then I will also tell you about some hormones of heart. Heart also has some hormones. Okay. Cool. And we'll talk about the cellular mechanism. Okay. So in next class, I'll be talking about immunity. So go and figure out what is immunity. Okay.
Yes,
Types
sir.
of immunity. And while you are doing it, just to make it interesting, you must all be knowing that we had produced vaccines against COVID virus, right?
Yes, sir.
What is vaccine versus what is medication? So this is all for doctors' sake. If you have doctors in your family, take these questions to them, seek their help in understanding the answers. In next class, I will ask these to everyone, and only those who will answer at least one will stay in the class. Just kidding. But yes. So vaccination, what is vaccination and what is medication? What is the difference? So we have vaccine against COVID, we have no medicine against COVID. Do you understand? Against the corona disease, we don't have medicines, we have vaccines, right?
Yes.
And that vaccine also is not functioning properly for the new variant. Do you know there is a new variant that has come, that has emerged from South Africa?
Yes, sir.
It's called Omicron.
Yes, sir. Omicron. I have heard about it. My father was saying in the interview.
Yes. So Omicron variant. What is it? What is a variant? And this Omicron is basically a Greek alphabet, just like alpha, beta, delta, gamma, kappa, epsilon. So they have used all of this and they have reached till Omicron. They have left two, I think, in between. They skipped two, Xi and Phi. So there is no Xi and Phi variant, but there is other kappa variant, delta variant, alpha variant, beta variant. Now there is Omicron variant. So vaccines are not working against it. So what is vaccination? How it is related to immunity? What is medication? The difference between two? What is immunity? Types of immunity, active, passive. Just read and make short notes. 3-4 lines about each. Will you do this before
Yes,
tomorrow's
sir.
class? Very good. So see you everyone. See you all in tomorrow's class. Because we do not have much time. We have 2-3 minutes. So any doubts if you have, I'll take the doubts. Otherwise, we'll meet in tomorrow's class. Come prepared with these questions. Any doubts?